Hi, welcome to this part of my review featuring Unknown Armies, Book 1, Play. If you haven't seen the other parts of my review, featuring this tabletop RPG, where the characters achieve their objectives through occult means and fight the status quo, please check out the playlist in the description below. This time we are going to talk about Adepts, and I'm going to give you my final thoughts on this RPG. The cosmos sits and flexes between order and chaos. Adepts are human beings. They aren't born special, they aren't heirs to the Merovingian bloodline or reincarnated monks or hosts to powerful spiritual aliens. They are people like you and me who learned how to do magic. Adepts possess a vision of the universe that allows them to warp, distort, or pervert it. It's not a hobby, a pose, or a style, or a trend. It's an all-encompassing, obsessive, and idiosyncratic worldview. There are multiple schools of the art of magic, all burning different fuels to make alien hits, but three laws bind them all. These are the law of symbolic tension. All magic is based on some sort of paradox. The law of transaction. Magic requires sacrifice. And the law of obedience. To be an adept is to put magic front and center. Magic doesn't make sense to normal people. Lucky thing, too. Otherwise, everyone would be doing it. The universe is pay to play. If you want an effect, you need to add energy to the system. You can't follow more than one school of magic, any more than you can have two obsessions. The practice of magic breaks down into the following components: a central theme and paradox, a taboo, a way to get charges, minor, significant, and major, a domain that determines the sort of effects adepts can produce in keeping with the theme, a list of formula spells, usually about 14, with effects that are as reliable, codified, and predictable as anything in post-modern magic gets. Let's talk about Omega. This measures how forgiving the practice of a school is. There are two elements when it comes to calculating the Omega factor: taboo and charging. If a taboo is risky, onerous, or otherwise burdensome, Omega drops by a point. If the taboo is an average constraint for someone who likes kicking physics in the nuts, then the Omega stays at 0. If the taboo isn't particularly hard to keep, then the Omega gets a +1 and makes your spells more expensive. When it comes to charges, if getting minor and significant changes is easy, then the Omega is at +1. If charging is potentially fatal, felonious, or otherwise a serious hassle, then the Omega is at -1. If it falls in the creamy middle, the Omega doesn't gain or lose anything. Concerning domain, every school has a domain, of course, an idea at its core, a grand passion, a fascination that generates its fundamental paradox. It's something broad like quiet or travel or relationships or plan. Depending on how close the purpose of the magic is to the domain, the Omega factor is going to be modified. When it comes to paradox, schools of magic depend on large issues that concern everyone. But while an idea that everyone shares has its power, it's not the kind of power adepts crave. The engine at the core of the serious, big, mind and matter distorting magic is forged by having an entirely different view of a topic than everyone else, and having the will and intelligence to hold your own against all of reality in defense of your position. Concerning effects and costs, many adepts are actually perfectly content to just focus on the eerie beauty of their mutant worldview, gathering charges and never spending them, or else piecing them away on convenience and comfort, much the way common folk spend money to learn a trade, then pursue that trade to make money. But an adept who doesn't do much doesn't matter much. The ones to worry about have agendas. Let's talk about the different spell details, factors, considerations, starting with range and duration. The spell could happen in an instant, maybe in minutes, perhaps hours, or a very long time, perhaps months or even years. When it comes to range, Maybe it's within the range of self, touch, eyeball, that is, anything that you can see, really far. When it comes to minor spell effects, maybe you need to acquire relevant objects. Perhaps alter a minor perception. Maybe alter a stress check. Maybe you need to avoid damage, and so forth. Now we have significant effects. Maybe you need to give a paranormal ability. Maybe you need to interact with the unnatural. Perhaps you want to invoke demons. Or really fuck someone up with magic with a significant blast. Now we have major charges. These effects are the stuff that dreams are made of. There are no specific guidelines or descriptions of them, because they could be anything. Let's talk about some of these magical formulae. You have consult the stars, seeing the future in the stars, the wind, the patterns of flying birds and such. We also have fertility. A person, animal, or acre of land becomes more fertile. There is also photo ID. This spell allows the cameraturge to automatically succeed at forging credentials, as long as there's a photo involved and the adept has actually handled or examined the documentation in question. There is also the banana peel gag. Take a banana, eat the banana, toss the peel on the ground, spend your charge, and name someone that you know is walking or running behind you. That person steps on the peel and falls down. There is also right turn, Clyde. Your next punch hits, no matter what you roll when you take the wild haymaker. Your struggle ability is temporarily increased to match it. Even a fumble hits. There is also stand alone. The fulminaturge stands out from the crowd. He is distinct and more worthy of attention than those around him. We also have plowshares to swords. Any crowd is a riot waiting to happen, given the right stimulus. A Motumancer can't cause a spontaneous riot with this spell, but they can push a group towards destructive instincts. There is also the team takes one for me. This spell allows you to shrug off damage, and others take that damage for you. And there are so many other spells such as Dead Man's Shoes, Dress for the Job You Want, A Very Fancy Hat. They all have to do with contemporary magic, sometimes interacting with high tech even. And those are just some lesser effects. When it comes to the highest effects possible, you can pretty much accomplish anything. You can also build constructs and artifacts. You can also carry out rituals, minor and major, for great workings. And this concludes my review of Unknown Armies Book 1 Play. What do I think about it? Unknown Armies is perhaps the most sophisticated modern occult RPG out there. The character creation is so robust. The magic system is inspired in real occult philosophy. Conflicts are easy to carry out, mechanically speaking, they are easy to resolve. There is enough depth when it comes to the spell system, the philosophies, the many factors that could affect the desired miracles that you wish to enact. Perhaps the only downside, potential downside, is that this tabletop RPG is more suitable for those that have been playing RPGs in a while. If a complete beginner starts to learn this RPG, perhaps he or she is going to get lost when it comes to the character creation system, the mechanics of the game, because although the organization is good, some things are not that obvious. For example, character creation happens later on in the book, and it is somewhat hidden. And when it comes to the mechanics, they are explained in a somewhat tongue-in-cheek way, to the point that you may end up missing a few things. But for those of us that have been reading tabletop RPG books, manuals, handbooks, etc., it's easy enough to make sense of it all. So, my highest recommendation for Unknown Armies Book 1 Play. It is the most sophisticated occult tabletop RPG out there, that has a very deep character creation system, and with a task resolution that is easy enough to carry out, without depending on too many subsystems. It is all based on modifiers according to your background, to the spell that you are carrying out, etc. Thank you for watching this review, and thank you for your likes and your comments. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. This has been Abraham El Jaguar, a professional game master. If you want me to run a game for you, please check out the pinned comment below. And remember, it is better to roleplay and fail in character than not to roleplay and fail as a player. Once again, thank you, and see you later.